So last week, the Bauchi State Commissioner for Education, Mr. Aliyu Tilde, said that the government has concluded plans in separating male and female students in secondary schools. And why did he do this? He said, he explained that the idea was to address the moral decadence which had become prevalent among students in secondary school. Now, the update on that story is that the boys of the secondary school came out yesterday to protest, demanding that they should have been carried along with this decision. And this is a cause for concern because many parents are also worried about the moral decadence in our schools. But what other critics are saying, is this the way? Do you throw the baby away with the bathwater? Are there better ways of addressing these issues? Because these children, they have to have this co-curriculum, they have to have the co-education together. The idea is to have them to learn social skills by interacting both with male and female. So if you divide them, is that the right thing to do? That's our conversation today. You can join us, call us on 081-270-53687, 091-390-7694. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your view TVC so we can read your tweet. What are your thoughts on this? There's two sides of the argument. So the commissioner is saying there's so much moral decadence in our society. These boys are sleeping with girls and they're having all sorts of things in schools, and it's becoming
worrisome,
unacceptable, in that state. Others are saying that if your children are well trained, we've had schools where boys and girls went to school together and they didn't have that problem. So there are ways of going around this. What are your thoughts on the decision of the Commissioner for Education? Let me start with you, Mariam.
Okay, so I took the story yesterday and I think his fears are valid. First of all, also we need to, for context, Bauchi State is in the north and we understand how conservative, culturally and religiously they can be. I'm not saying everyone is Muslim, but culturally, it's quite conservative. So there are some things also that is important to them, how a girl carries herself up until she's ready for marriage. But he also mentions that it's worrisome because they're at an age where they're experimenting. So he understands that that's the time. But he also says, so apart from that, they're also getting married quite early. So all the gains that they say they have acquired in encouraging children to go to school, encouraging girls to go to school, their boys to go to school, the out-of-school children percentage is dropping. For them, parents will get scared and say, okay, if I send my child to school and the child ends up just misbehaving, still, getting married so early, what then is the benefit? And to in a way to stop that, is to separate them. And I feel that that's an important first step to take. I mean, I went to an all-girls school for secondary school, and I went to a university where the boys were not allowed into the girls' hostel. If boys wanted to see girls, they would, call us out, and you would go. So for me, I guess also growing up in the north, it does not seem unusual for me, and did not stop me from interacting with boys. We would meet in class, we'll have a conversation. There are other avenues where you could meet and, get to know each other. There's sports where you can still interact with each other. So, but in this case, it seemed to be much more severe. And I feel that it's severe because they have to take a quick first step, which is you would not even interact on any level. But, let me just finish. But, the thing is, the children have come out to protest this thing, and I feel that they are what's the word now? It's not misled. They don't understand what they're doing. But there's one thing that they said, that you should have involved them in the conversation. And I think that conversation would have happened. This is what is happening to children. And this is how you're carrying yourselves. I hope that there was education on how they would have carried themselves while interacting with each other. I want to take the initial thoughts before we go deeper.
Let me get your thoughts on this before we go deeper into all the other parts of it.
I think, for me, and I'm not a conservative person, I think it's a good step. I think it's a good step because my niece, recently, I got my brother to move her to an all-girls school because I saw what was happening in the mixed school. And you see, I'm not saying that it cannot happen in an all-girls school or in an all-boys school. There can be decadence. But the fear is that a 13-year-old might get pregnant. So if the governor is looking at that, because once you get pregnant at 13, I mean,
It disrupts a lot of things.
It disrupts a lot of things. I remember my late ex-husband wanted to take my daughter to a school where it was a mixed secondary school, and it was in Togo or Benin or somewhere like that. And the boys' hostel was just across a corridor. Was the one that divided
The girls and boys.
girls and the boys' hostel. Can you imagine? They just walk across the corridor. The girl, she was 13. She came out pregnant. She got pregnant at 13. And I was saying, you see, you want my daughter to be pregnant at 13.
But
Normally I never agree with government.
But let's
But
go
this
back.
one,
Let's
I
go back.
agree.
Let's go back to the source. When you raise children, when children are properly raised and they know their boundaries, you're a boy, I'm a girl. You know, we respect each other, and they are raised in that way. They can grow up and they have the hormones burning, but because they've been raised in a way to respect and keep themselves and preserve themselves to a certain point, they're likely to listen to that. So, do you think we should go back to the foundation of this than just say divide them? Because dividing them doesn't solve the problem, I don't think.
Okay, so I think the government is doing what is within their powers. Just as Miriam said, it would have been, something that they carried every party along. So it would have been a decision that, they would have had continuous parents, teachers, association meetings. So parents too are aware of the problem, and where they are laxing at parenting, they would beef up or sit up at it. But for me, the protest is what made me change my mind. I didn't go to a single girls, for my primary school, a single girls school, a Catholic school. But for my secondary school was mixed, and university was mixed. I was raised here in Lagos, and I mixed with every kind of gender that, I could possibly imagine.
There are only two types of gender.
No. I'm telling you, when it comes to sex and all of that, we saw all the extremes in secondary school, sadly. In secondary school where I went. And it was a decision, formed from our backgrounds at home that made us do differently.
Yes.
So I believe that parenting is the way to go. But then maybe government should start looking at the kids that they're talking about. We are no longer in 1991, 93 when I was in JS1. We are looking at kids who are constantly have quick links on social media, on their phones, their smartphones now. Before your parents' mind ever gets 10 steps, the child's own has gone 1,000 steps ahead. These kids see a lot of things that, even if they were not in mixed schools, they will do what they want to do. Those days when we had single-sex schools, some girls would find their way to an all-boys school over the weekend.
Exactly.
Boys too will find their way and tell girls to meet them up. So a child who is determined to do bad will do bad.
Yes.
But what I cannot understand is that students who should be focused on their education right now are protesting a government decision. I just cannot understand that one.
That is where...
Whoever cooks that idea into their head and push them on the
Let
road.
me take this
And then they
Chris.
say, carry me along. Carry you to where?
Carry you where exactly?
No.
Let's take Chris.
Carry me
Come back
along
to
is
you.
good.
Good morning, Chris from Abuja. You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. And I must say the government are not really doing so much on this issue. So let's ask two questions. Now, have we looked at lesbianism? Have we also looked at the other one of gay or whatever with the boys? That is true. Then another one, if you are separating these two, you separate them, at the end of the day, they get into the university. Are you going to separate them? Seriously, let's be factual. I grew up in Lagos, and all these separating people, separating students, doesn't really make sense. It won't stop the decadence. It won't stop it at all.
Exactly.
So let's just be very factual with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So I'll go come to you, Mara, because yes, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, when they say it won't stop them, yes, they may still, but at least you have put in a barrier.
Good. So
That's
that's
what I think.
Taking a measure.
The way-
No,
Yes.
you have done something.
Yeah,
really,
you
but
know?
but whether that thing will be effective is another matter entirely.
Okay, and the way it was reported as of yesterday, it seemed to be widespread. So there's a difference between children will always find themselves, if even in all-girls school, these things happen, but it's one-off. But when it's widespread, and I think an immediate action needs to be taken, like this one has been taken, but then it is not the answer, as you say. People will still find a way, and that is where the government has, and that's why I agree that government should have involved all stakeholders, even the students. You start talking to them, sexual education. That's what I mean by involving them. Not saying we're asking your permission or this, no. But we're having a conversation. This is what you're doing. You are at a certain age. This is what is happening to your bodies. But if you do this, this is where you end up. It will affect your future, affect your education. Those are the sort of conversations so that the children are aware. Whether we like it or not, many children, especially in the north, there's an age you just feel that, especially for girls, I'm about to get married. I want to be married, you know. So I always feel that there's a way we raise girl children, like, I want to meet a man and fall in love and be married. So if you're not giving them the other benefits of the reason why you have to wait to finish your education, they meet a guy, they like him, please, can we go on, you know?
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing this matter that happened in Bauchi. And there was a part of this that Maya mentioned earlier, which I thought was important. The fact that we're talking about Bauchi, it's a fairly conservative community, and it's a majority Muslims. Now, when you consider that, and you think of the liberty given to a young man, because you got somebody pregnant, bring her as wife, you can have a few of those, and the fact that a little girl from the age of 12, 13 is already thinking marriage, because many of them, either some big man comes and picks a child up, you know. So these are things that they hear that happens that is fairly normalized in this community. So when a teenager is having this, I'm trying to choose my words correctly, use this hormonal hype going around within in the secondary school, you know, and the first thing you think of is just separating them. For me, is that really the solution, or we're just still just packaging it with something? You know, because the real source, there are bigger issues here. There's the liberty a young man feels that, listen, I can have you, and nothing's going to happen. If you get pregnant, oh well, join the queue.
So just as I said earlier, it's still just a measure that the state governments are looking within their own means to do. But, you know, we talked about a parents' meeting, a parent-teachers association meeting where there's constant reorientation. So the schools themselves, government can then compel the schools to have a counseling and I remember that in secondary school, we had a counseling and guidance department, and they would never, they didn't counsel, I didn't get to be counseled one-on-one. But they would come out every time. They'll bring these NGOs to come and counsel the girls on how important our bodies were. I loved the fact that those counseling even started in primary school. I remember that in primary school, we taught about our bodies and how important it was to be away from the other gender. So it is.
I'm almost certain they do that in these schools. Though.
If they
do,
the government will not have to react like this. I don't think there's any effect of that if it happens.
But I agree that it should start from the parents. Not just, it's not the school. It's the parents have to start counseling. Look, I remember when I was very young, when they were showing a program on drugs, my mother would call all of us and make us watch it. What happens to you when you take drugs? So, of course, when you see people like that, you will be afraid. Because they are showing you the result of this. So parents too play a large and important role in, you know, the children.
Let's give you comments on social media so we can wrap up with this.
I have this.
Dolani Roberts.
Sorry. Okay.
You want to go?
Yeah. Don Anthony says, I sat with these people in my secondary school who was sexually attracted to his own sex. The boy didn't get no help, but the school was using him to cash out money during cultural meetings. Gladys Oyebo says, absolutely correct. Let sex education be introduced in our schools. Dada Olagoke says, if you separate them now, will you separate them in university? Same elite will send their kids abroad in mixed schools. Our so-called leaders should be productive.
Okay, Dolani Robert says, the protesters about separation of female and male block is a priority highly misplaced. This is not one of their problems. It could have been a thoughtful protest if they had protested about the quality of education they are receiving instead of what they did. Tony says, for me, the government are only pushing them to find out more to know why government put the ban. This will result in them more of those things government never wanted them doing. The result will be so bad. Nevertheless, most of them marry so early, even at 13. Olamilekon said, no, to me, it's not absolute solution, but part of it. More needs to be done by parents through upbringing and government through law.
Isn't it also curious that the girls were not marching alongside them to say, don't stop the ban? If they were like, thank you
for
finally,
separating.
please separate us.
Well, you see, as this may sound, is a very serious matter. I know we might laugh about it, but the truth is that these are young girls and young boys, and they have their whole life ahead of them. And we can't pretend that even those of us that went to secondary school, yes, they did sexual education, and with all the sexual education, there were some girls still doing some things at the back. There were some boys still. So we still,
but in number,
in number. But now it's more prevalent. It's more widespread. I get that, but I think.
But even in the same-sex schools, they still get up to.
So it goes back to the foundation of these children. That's really the parenting is really the real solution to this problem. But either way, the government has done what they can do to help, but the real solution to that problem is parenting, and hopefully the parents get the feedback and do the needful when it comes to these teenagers. When we come back, we're going to take a break now. We're going to invite our guest from Lamata to know exactly what's going on in that sector. Stay with us, we'll be right back.